Doesn't really account for a whole lot. That's for sure. Somebody came in and wiped the toilet, cleaned the toilet. It's not sterile, but hopefully it's less germy than it was. Doing the best I can. Pasteurization, you already know what that is. It's not sterilized. There's still live organisms in it. And that's the point. You don't want to kill all the live organisms because you might need them in there to, say, make it into wine or beer or whatever. It destroys the more harmful ones, but it doesn't make it sterile. Disinfection is what you use on non-living tissue. Fomite. You know what a fomite is? You'll see that word on your test. A fomite is a surface that everyone touches. The bathroom faucet. The handrail of the stairway. I used to say public telephone. In the olden days, public telephones were gross. Some homeless people were living in the telephone booth. And that's why they started making those phones without a booth, just have like an oval thing with a phone in it, because the homeless people were living in the phone booth. And pooping in there and whatever else. Degerming, hand washing is degerming. And an antiseptic is what you use on living tissue. Upstairs in lab, you'll have disinfectants and antiseptics. For the Petri plate of E. coli, you're going to put a disc of antiseptic. For your E. coli soaked toothpicks, you're going to soak them in disinfectant. So those are some terms you need to know. So I loaded up these PowerPoints so you have what you need to have for your test. Remember, most resistant and most susceptible, bacterial endospores, bacterial endospores are the most resistant because we haven't talked about prions yet. What's a prion? Good, an infectious protein like mad cow disease. Biosafety levels. You will have a test on this, okay? So make sure you memorize them. Biosafety level. 1. E. coli, relatively non-pathogenic. How are you going to handle it? Wash your hands, maybe with antimicrobial soap. Use disinfectants on the surfaces. Biosafety level 2. Uh-oh, getting a little bit worse. MRSA, it's just Staph aureus, but it's methicillin resistant. Hepatitis, flu virus, what are you going to use? A safety hood. You know the hoods we have upstairs? We only work with biosafety level 1 in our lab. If we worked with biosafety level 2, you would be working in the hood. And I always used to make people work in hood, except it gets crowded. So that's why I decided to spread out the table since it was only biosafety level 1. Those hoods will take aerosols. So some bacteria become airborne when they're in liquid or whatever. That's an aerosol, is a droplet with bacteria in it, airborne droplets. And the hoods will suck them out and run them through a filter before they exit the building. Biosafety level 3. Well, biosafety level 2, you're going to limit access. You don't want all kinds of people and kids running in and out of there. But biosafety level 3 is even more serious. TB would be a good one to remember. Anthrax. You're going to use HEPA filters in your hood, special filters. You're going to have double doors, special ventilation. And biosafety level 4, that's the most severe. This is Ebola. Ebola.
It's there.
Huh?
You put it there.
Yeah, Ebola. And Lassa fever, you know what Lassa fever is?
No.
That's a hemorrhagic fever also. bad. What biosafety level is she working in?
Four.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, that's a job I don't want. I have to wear too much frickin' attire, I can't deal. I couldn't do that,
You telling me this is how they
to go to work every day.
They telling you they actually wear this? For the
Oh, yeah,
umbrella?
oh, yeah. And, first of all,
You vulnerable.
am I gonna work at a job that could mean suffering and death? I don't think so, and if I did, they'd have to pay me really high money. And they probably don't really pay her that much.
Some of the Ebola team, we don't get any more pay. We have to wear that.
Where?
If we have an Ebola patient,
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
bunch of us that are volunteers that don't get any more.
Yeah.
So,
Sucks.
What made you want to volunteer for that? But how come Ebola became
Yeah.
so?
Some people do wanna volunteer, but a lot of these people went to Zaire and they were volunteers, a lot of them.
if you do it right, you know.
But why does Ebola become so?
I like people, but not really that much. I like them to a certain extent. I won't run them over with my car, let's put it that way. Well, some of them I might run over with my car.
Yeah,
They really disturb me. It's awful. Okay, autoclaving, that's gonna sterilize it. It's super pressurized. Not only is it boiling, but it's above boiling because of the pressure. Boiling, pasteurization is moist heat, but not boiling. Okay, didn't ask you a question about that one, but the biosafety levels you definitely need to know. And the definitions, that you need to know, definitions. This one you need to know endospores and prions are most resistant. You need to know biosafety levels. Let's see. What else do I have? I just put a bunch of notes that are kind of, you can just read them. This is an autoclave. Now, our autoclave, and you're welcome to look in the back room if you want a little tour. This is a different kind of an autoclave than the kind we have. Ours is a steam pressurized autoclave and it's a bigger thing. This is a more modern one, but they actually still make the kind we have. Some are gas, different kinds, but you see the steam and all that stuff. That's how an autoclave, moist heat autoclave works. Sterility indicators, remember they're checking to see if the autoclave works properly. Put an endospore strip in there. Here's more about pasteurization. Refrigeration. Okay. There is a question about this. Okay. You buy your hamburger meat from a roadside stand. Who does that? Nobody. It's so funny. You go overseas and like, my brother and I took a tour on the Nile, a cruise on the Nile, and so we'd get off the boat at certain cities and stuff, and you'd see them carrying meat to the ship on their freaking back in the hot sun. No, do you know how hot it is in Egypt? It's so freaking hot, you can't imagine. It's so hot. And then there's these people, you know, how the women wear all covered up with black, and I'm like, how do you ladies handle it? I'd be sweating to death under it. No wonder they smell so bad. Because they're sweating to death under all that black clothing and the hot sun. I'm like, if you're a culture that lives in the hot sun, why would you make your women wear black? Let them wear white or something at least, but anyway. So, and they carry meat, like they literally will have the big side of beef or whatever, a goat or something, the skin is off, it's the meat that they're gonna eat. And they carry it on their back to the ship. So, you know it's getting old and rancid, but then you have to cook it. So if you cook it, you kill the germs. But, so let's say you buy your meat at a roadside stand, and you take it home, and you're not gonna eat it tonight, you're gonna eat it next week, so you throw it in the freezer. Did you kill the bacteria on it? No, you kind of froze them, you know, made them go dormant maybe, but you didn't kill them. So if you take that meat out and let it thaw, as it thaws on your countertop, the germs are gonna thaw, and as they warm up a little, they're gonna start metabolizing and replicating. So if you don't cook it thoroughly, you could still get sick from the bacteria in the meat. So freezing does not kill bacteria for the most part. Boiling might kill them unless it's endospores, right? Viruses. You know where they store smallpox virus for research and for possibly having to make vaccines? In freezers. So viruses are not living, so when they say a live virus or a dead virus, they mean disabled. Attenuated. Attenuated means weakened. So you can freeze viruses and then take them out 100 years later and do research on them. They're fine. So freezing them just sort of keeps them in a state of limbo. You can also dry them. And you can dry bacteria. The bacteria, the latex culture for you, they come in freeze-dried pellets. And then they take that freeze-dried pellet of bacteria and they reconstitute it in broth and put it in a nice warm incubator and they grow. So freezing and freeze-drying will not kill bacteria or viruses. Lyophilization, desiccation, lyophilization is freeze-drying. Use of desiccation as a means of preserving apricots. Oh, that picture could have been bigger. You ever have dates, raisins, dried apricots, prunes, all those dried fruits? Take the moisture out. Bacteria need moisture to grow. So that's one way to preserve things is by drying. Beef jerky is another one. Adding a high salt content. Sometimes when they dry fish or meat, they'll add salt. That helps those hams. They pack in salt. What else we got?